viewers and learners of the MEVE 001 Environmental Impact Assessment for Environmental Health. I introduce myself as Dr. Sushmitha Baskar, working in the discipline of Environmental Studies at the School of Interdisciplinary and Transdisciplinary Studies, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. Today we will be discussing about the environmental impact assessment of river valley projects. So we will see that before embarking on such a project, what are the clearance and all that is required, and whether that will have any negative impact to the environment and also to the human health. Now the learning objectives of this module: after listening to and reading this module, you will be able to list some river valley projects in India, explain the potential impacts that these projects can cause, and describe the mitigation measures or the preventive measures one can take before embarking on such projects. Let us start with an interesting case study. The Karnataka Power Corporation Limited, they constructed a dam in 1964 across the river near Linganamaki, and this is one of the oldest hydroelectric power projects in our country. The dam is located at an altitude of 512 meters. The reservoir capacity is approximately 152,000 million cubic feet. Now this receives the water from the Chakra and the Savaklu river reservoirs that are connected through the Linganamaki by means of a canal. The construction of the dam resulted in submersion of a large area with also a considerable decline in biodiversity in the specific area. The soil and the aquatic environments were also threatened, and so the construction of the dam caused impact on the river ecosystem. Therefore, large dams and the developments of such river valley project can cause significant environmental degradation, and a cumulative environmental impact assessment study can help minimize the impacts of these projects. So for any river valley project to be considered environmentally sensitive, a complete environmental impact assessment should be conducted before the proposed project is considered for clearance. Once considered, other preventive measures should be taken, for example, the negative environmental impacts. Then when commissioned and when it is started, then again the environmental impact should be monitored and action should be taken on the preventive measures to address the impacts. Multi-purpose river valley projects, these are basically designed for the development of irrigation, for agriculture and electricity also through the construction of dams. So initially the dams were built only for storing the rainwater to prevent the flooding, but now it has become a multi-purpose project. Let us now list some multi-purpose river valley projects in our country. One is the Almaty Dam. This is a hydroelectric project that is constructed on the river Krishna. The Beas project, this was a joint venture of the governments of Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan, and this consists of two units, the Beas Sutlej unit and the Beas Dam at Pong. And this project links the Beas and the Sutlej rivers in Punjab through 38.4 kilometers of hills and valleys. This is a very important project. In the same way, the Bakra Nangal project and dam. This was the largest multi-purpose project in India and the highest straightway gravity dam in the world, in the sense it is 225.5 meters high on the river Sutlej. The Damodar Valley project, this exists between West Bengal and Bihar, and the primary objective of this was to control the flowing of the Damodar, which is quite destructive and it can be also quite notorious in nature. And this dam was designed based on the Tennessee Valley Authority in USA, following those design and guidelines. The Farakka barrage, the aim of this was to preserve and maintain the Calcutta port and to improve the navigability of the Hooghly river. The Hirakud project, that is from Odisha, this is the first chain of 3 dams that were planned for harnessing the river Mahanadi. In the same way, we have the Idukki hydroelectric project. This is a giant hydroelectric project of Kerala and one of the biggest in the country. This was constructed with the Canadian assistance, and it has an installed capacity of 390 megawatts in the first stage and 780 megawatt in the second stage. Then the Tehri Dam project. This is the world's 5th and Asia's largest hydroelectric project. This has been constructed on the river Bhagirathi, which is a tributary of the Ganga in the Tehri district of Uttaranchal. The height of the earth and the rockfill in the dam is 260.5 meters, and this also makes it one of the highest dams in the country. The Sardar Sarovar project, which also had a lot of controversy with it, this was one of the largest river valley schemes in the country, and this envisages construction of a 163-meter high cement concrete dam at Navagam in Gujarat. This will create irrigation potential of 1.79 million hectares and generate more than 1500 megawatts of power. Therefore, planned development with an integrated approach is important. Less planned development and rapid development can result in disastrous impacts on our environment and also on our basic life support systems. The development of the river valley project like dams, reservoirs can cause significant impacts on the physico-chemical, biological, the cultural, biodiversity and also the socio-economic components of the environment, and all these are actually taken down, they are noted down, the observations to see what are the impacts that are going to happen on all these aspects and the components of the environment. Large dams in India, as in the several other countries of the world globally, they have been accompanied by significant alteration in the upstream and the downstream physical as well as the biological environment. So, it results in undesirable consequences and therefore, cumulative environmental impact assessment which can involve prevention, mitigation that can help in minimizing the impacts of these projects. Now, what do we mean by the cumulative impact assessment? They are the additive environmental impacts of a persistent causal agent over time. The term refers to accumulation of human induced changes in valued environmental components including humans, flora and the fauna, the soil, water, air, the climate in the area, the landscape and the interaction of all these factors and on material assets and the cultural heritage also across space and over time. It reveals the identification, the description and the assessment of the direct and indirect long-term combined effects of a project. Therefore, environmental assessment is a method used to identify the main impacts a project or activity may have on the environment. The negative and positive consequences of development projects are assessed to provide decision makers with a holistic and informed opinion based on sound and objective research and the analysis. And they are necessary to guide development both at the strategic and at the project level. They can serve as early warning systems. They help to identify the alternative approaches. They identify the cross-sectoral impacts and enable managers to view the projects, the proposals in a local, regional and global perspective, and they also involve dialogue and interaction between the various ministries, the non-governmental organizations, local authorities, municipalities and the private sector. Scope of the EIA studies. So, this EIA report, whatever they are giving, should identify the relevant environmental concerns and focus on potential impacts that may change due to the construction of the proposed project. And based on the baseline data which can be collected even seasonally, the status of the environment in the area and the capacity to bear this impact should be analyzed properly. Based on this analysis, the mitigation measures for minimizing the impact also can be suggested. First of all, details of the project and the general site description need to be given, and here again the relevant map and the figures and photographs if required they can be given. The existence and documentation of national park, sanctuary, biosphere reserves should be detailed. The drainage pattern and the map of the river catchment up to the proposed project site, that has to be given. The delineation of the critically degraded areas in the directly draining catchment on the basis of the silt yield index as per the methodology of the Soil and Land Use Survey of India. The soil characteristics, the geological and the seismotechnic details, these have to be given in detail. The land details including forest, private and other land. The demarcation of the snow-fed and rain-fed areas for the estimate of the water availability, and again to know the specific status of the environment in the area. The baseline data with respect to the environmental components such as the air, the water, the soil quality, then the biology, the biodiversity, the wildlife, the socio-economic status, all this should be collected within 10 kilometers radius of the project site, the dam site and also the powerhouse. The air quality and the noise, these have to be monitored at the location which are environmentally and ecologically more sensitive in the area. The flora and the fauna in the catchment area and the command area should be documented, and again the water quality which can include all the chemical and the physical parameters. The meteorology, that is also very important, the temperature, the relative humidity, the wind speed and direction, that all has to be collected from the India Meteorological Department, the ambient air quality with the specific parameters. Then for the air quality, the suspended particulate matter, then the respirable suspended particulate matter, and the oxides of the nitrogen and sulfur, these need to be observed. Then the soil characteristics, their classification, and the physical parameters like the texture, then the bulk density, the water holding capacity and other chemical parameters. These also have to be detailed. Now coming to the biological environment. Here again the flora characterization of the forest type, the general vegetation profile, the floral diversity covering all the groups, for example the pteridophytes, the lichens, the orchids, the bryophytes, all this a species wise list has to be given. Then the existence of any sanctuary or park and biosphere reserve area should also be detailed. Now economically important species, for example the medicinal plants, then that which is got for the fuel wood or the timber, that has to be detailed. Then the endemic species found in that project area, and everything should be documented, like for example the flora in accordance with the International Union for the Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources IUCN criteria and the Botanical Survey of India's red data list along with the economic significance, so that we know the endemic, the endangered plants species in that area. In the same way, the aquatic ecology, the fish and the fisheries, their migration and breeding grounds, the fish diversity and also the composition and the length and weight of each of the fish, they also have to be documented. Irrigation and cropping pattern and the cropping area, the horticultural practices in that study area. Then if agricultural activity, if that is of prime concern, then their activity, the productivity, the irrigation facilities, that component, and also the type of irrigation that is used. Is it pressurized, drip irrigation and micro irrigation? What is being practiced, that also has to be detailed. Then the water environment, both in the surface as well as the ground water quality, both have to be documented. And in case they are doing any pisciculture and recreation facilities, then also the steps for developing the same can also be suggested. Then changes in the hydraulic regime and the downstream flow, water pollution due to disposal of sewage, water pollution from the labor colony camps and the people who are the communities who are actually residing there, that also has to be seen. Then the land environment adverse impacts, like on the land stability, the reservoir sedimentation, catchment of the soil catchment area, then the soil erosion, the spring flow, then whether blasting will create any problems, then the changes in the land use and land cover and drainage pattern, immigration of the labor population, then the quarrying operation and the muck disposal, at what place the muck is going to be disposed, then the river bank and their stability and the changes in the land quality including the effects of the waste disposal. Then again the biological impact we have already discussed, but again the deforestation and disturbance to wildlife, the habitat fragmentation and animals migratory corridors, these have to be seen. Then the compensatory afforestation, by doing all this maybe they can also go about suggestions for the identification of a suitable tree species for compensatory afforestation in that area and also suggest a green belt, and zonation can be done. Then the impact on the fish migration and the habitat degradation due to decreased flow of water impact on the breeding and the nesting grounds for the animals. Socio-economic aspects. So the impacts on the local community including the demographic profile has to be collected, the age and what occupation they are doing and so on. The same way the impact on human health due to water and the vector-borne diseases, impacts on the tourism, then impacts of blasting activity during the project construction, and for example if any natural springs are there and that will dry up, then any noise pollution is going to create problem and so on. Then environmental impact analysis, environmental impact due to these projects, and they should be carried out for the construction and the operation phases, and they can be done using either qualitative or quantitative methods. Then there is an environmental management plan, and that is aimed at minimizing the negative impacts of the project. This should be given in detail. Any suggestion what they can say for the mitigation. Then the mitigation plans, what they should include. That means a catchment area, there should be a treatment plan where they can be prepared like microshed, watershed wise. Then the mitigations to check the shifting culture, then better agricultural practices should be included and so on. Then there can be compensatory afforestation, then biodiversity and wildlife conservation and management plan. For example, preservation of the endemic and the rare species or the endangered species can be preserved, and this can be done in consultation with the State Forest Department. Resettlement and rehabilitation plans, that also can be done with the affected families, and also the resettlement site also should be identified. Then for the green belt development, whether you are going to do that along the periphery of the reservoir, the colonies, and how the roads and the canal should be constructed. So all this also can be done along with the locals and the State Forest Department. The local plant species suitable for the green development, that can be selected. Then the reservoir rim treatment plan for stabilization of the landslide or landslip zones if any. Then around the reservoir periphery, that all should be prepared. Then engineering and biological measures should be done for the slip zones. The same way, land restoration and landscaping, these also form an important part of the environmental management plan. Then in the same way, fisheries conservation and management. Then the muck disposal plan, that means here again they have to identify the sites with the State Pollution Control Board and Forest Department as to which place the muck can be disposed. And then there should be a plan for the restoration of the quarry sites, the landscaping of the colony areas and the working areas or roads. Then the design of the earthquake parameters, this also should be done. Dam break analysis and disaster management plan. This should be illustrated with the proper graph and map, and they should bring out the impact of the dam break scenario, and provisions for the early warning systems also should be provided. Then the water, air quality and noise management, this we already discussed, but then again some more details can be provided, like the groundwater management plan, the public health delivery plan, including how the local community would be given the drinking water facility during the operational time. Then the labor management plan for their health and for the safety. The sanitation and solid waste management plan for the domestic waste from the colonies and also from the labor camps. Then the local area development plan, that also can be done in consultation with the village panchayats and the revenue officials. Local skill development schemes can be given. Details of all the activities should be given along with the financial implications. Then the environmental safeguards during the construction activities, including road construction, that also should be detailed. So dear viewers and learners of this course and this module on the environmental impact assessment for the river valley projects, we have clearly understood that we were able to list some of the major river valley projects in our country. And for example, the Sardar Sarovar plan, this created a lot of controversy where the socio-economic conditions, that was a main problem, and the tribals living in that area had no claim over the land that they possessed. And so the projects can actually have negative impacts both on the environment, on the human health. For example, the drinking water quality can be compromised, the air quality can be compromised, and also for the people who are living there, for the community, the socio-economic conditions also have to be evaluated and estimated before embarking on such projects. And once they have been decided, before the clearance is actually given to such projects, the mitigation plans also have to be discussed clearly. For example, how, like for example, if you want to do the afforestation plan, then how we are going to do that afforestation. Maybe the local forest, the state forest authorities can be taken into consideration, and they should be involved, and also the residents and the locals who are living nearby. They can suggest the local plants that are capable and that are suitable for growing and for making the zonation in that area, like in which zone they want to create that green belt. The same way for the noise quality, whether any kind of the equipments are to be used, whether ear mufflers have to be distributed even among the people out there. Then for the air quality, whether any treatment electrostatic precipitators will be kept there so that can take away all the particulate material, whether damping can be done, and whether the mud or the area around can be dusted, can be damped with the water. So this all can bring down the the air quality from a very severe category to a normal one. In the same way, the diversion of roads meant for the construction activities and other details regarding the biodiversity plans, and whether any of the local local reserves are going to be affected. So this way we can suggest some mitigation and also some preventive measures, so that the people are very much taken into account. The environment and the health, both are taken into account, because without the environment, without our life support systems, we cannot live. And also the flora and the fauna also have to be protected, and we need to see that they are also conserved in the proper way, and to make provisions also so that they are maintained in the same way. I hope you have had a good understanding on this topic, and thank you for your patient listening.